with putting some names and faces or organizations together so that you can access any needed training and technical assistance to support successful CSBG administration. So let's get started. The objective of our visualization activity is to offer you space to strategically think about how, through your lens, you envision poverty being eliminated from your communities and how, through your sphere of influence, you can use CSBG to create the community you wish to see and be a part of creating. So I know I just invited you to come on camera and you're welcome to stay, but I encourage you to do what makes you most comfortable as we begin our visualization exercise. Like I said, you can remain on camera, you can close your eyes, you can go off camera, or whatever is most beneficial for you to freely and creatively engage. So we're going to start by just asking you to take a deep breath in and out. I'm asking you to feel your chair and the ground beneath your feet. Let your shoulders relax. And as you breathe, relax your posture and allow yourself to see a new vision of your community. One shaped by hope, strength, and possibility. Imagine yourself stepping into your community, not as it is today, but as it could be. A place where no family lives in poverty. Allow yourself to see the future where everything around you has changed for the better. There is abundance, there's dignity, there's wellness. In your mind, start to think about what the homes look like. What do schools, clinics, and community centers look like? Are there new businesses? Are there gathering spaces, farms, markets? What are the elders doing? What are the children doing? Are your traditions being practiced, preserved, and celebrated? As you continue breathing, notice the colors, the buildings, the land, the water. How are people dressed? What are they carrying? How are they moving through the community? As you continue breathing, what does it feel like to be in this new community? Is there a sense of safety, freedom, joy, pride? How does your heart respond to seeing elders, families, and youth thriving? How are people connected to each other, to the land, and to their values? What does it feel like to live in a community where every family's basic needs are met and then exceeded? Now, take one more deep breath as you begin to bring your awareness back to this virtual space. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, and when you're ready, gently open your eyes. And if you so choose, I invite you to come back on to camera. So we're going to pause for just a moment, and I'm going to invite everyone to answer these questions, and we'll place them in the chat, or you can answer them on paper. And then I'm going to see if we can get at least one person to volunteer to unmute yourself and share responses to one or a few of the following questions. What did you see, hear, and feel in this new community where poverty doesn't exist? What surprised you or moved you the most about your vision? What values or strengths were present in your future community? And what's one thing we can start doing today to work towards that vision? I'm going to pause for a moment and give you space to just think. The questions have been placed in the chat. I invite you to answer in the chat or on your own paper. And then I'm looking to see if anyone raises their hand to say that they want to share aloud anything that you saw, felt, envisioned, or surprised by during your visualization exercise of envisioning your community without poverty. I see everyone living harmoniously, togetherness, peaceful, and empowered. So very good. Is there someone willing to share? It felt real. Brenda, I see your hand if you want to share.
Yeah, I didn't see any other hands, so I figured I'd just jump in um, to answer some of the questions. That's what you're looking for someone to do.
Yes.
Yeah. If I can go back up to, let me get back to the chat there. So, question, sorry about that. Just gotta go back up there to your questions. So what did you see, hear, and feel? I'm the one that wrote everybody living harmoniously. No friction, no competitiveness, no pettiness. That's what I envisioned immediately. Um, as far as what surprised me, actually, it just kind of felt real. It did. It felt real. Um, and that's kind of what moved me. It was actually a little scary, because it felt real. But what values and strength were present? Definitely leadership. Um, um, and we're a community that knows that by working together, that's where the strength of our community is. And we praise that, we recognize that, we acknowledge that as many times as we can, because I think that's a huge strength for a community. Um, and we have a fairly large 1,200 plus community, and that's a lot to get the same people to feel that way, especially adults, which are over 700. Um, but I definitely think that's one of the strengths for Eastern people. We recognize that some of our greatest strengths are together, being together, working together, living together, that kind of stuff. One thing that we can start doing today to move toward that vision, and that is to, in my opinion, is to get everybody on the same boat, everybody to buy into, you know, right down to stewarding our land, taking care of our ancestral waterways. Those are things that are really important to us. For my community, we consider water life. So, there's a lot of things that we can do, um, to help 7 generations ahead um, toward that vision.
Brenda, thank you very much for sharing. I know if we were in a room, we could clap, but can we do virtual appreciation for Brenda since she was our brave one to share with us today? There you go, Brenda. You're getting some love in the virtual space. So thank you so much for
You're
sharing.
very welcome.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
everyone.
that. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're going to specifically focus on CSBG and creating an anti-poverty strategy to begin the process of bringing your vision into reality. The CSBG Act, or the legislation, prescribes 3 focal priorities for CSBG. They include reducing poverty and ultimately eradicating it, revitalizing communities, and empowering families and individuals with low income to be fully self-sufficient. In order for CSBG to play this vital role in reducing poverty, revitalizing communities, and empowering families, it must be maximized through the creation of an anti-poverty strategy. So, by definition, an anti poverty strategy is a comprehensive, planned approach to eliminate poverty and its effects by improving lives and living standards and conditions, creating economic opportunities, and providing social supports to individuals experiencing low incomes. As stewards of CSBG funding, your dedication, innovation, and accountability ensure that services reach those who need them the most. So, intentionally facilitating community led planning, designing a comprehensive service delivery system through coordinating resources with other federal, state, and local and tribal resources is extremely important. So when we look at these 3 elements of an anti-poverty strategy, we start with community-centric or community-centered planning, which underscores CSBG's intent for there to be local autonomy in creating community-driven solutions to locally identified community needs, often through a community needs assessment and through appropriate governance structures to provide integrity and oversight of programs. As you think about creating a comprehensive service delivery system, I would encourage you to think about how a set of factors that are often referred to as the social determinants of health come into play into this. So these factors influence a person's health and well-being and encompass things like economic stability. So whether there's food insecurity or access to affordable housing, whether there's education and literacy, access to quality health care and preventative health services, neighborhoods and infrastructure, social support networks, and more, which is why CSBG often seeks to impact employment opportunities and pathways for economic mobility, education and youth development and career planning that affords children safe spaces to grow, develop, and excel, income asset building towards the creation of wealth, safe and affordable housing, mental and physical health, nutrition and well-being supports, community engagement and community involvement, transportation, partnerships, and linkages that support service coordination. And then the final element of the CSBG anti-poverty strategy for today's discussion is going to be coordinated resources, which is aligned with community-centric planning and comprehensive service delivery. And it adds in the importance of making connections to other funding streams and programs through policy, procedure, and practice. For example, we will discuss briefly some portions of the tribal plan shortly, with one of them being income eligibility, because income eligibility drives how CSBG is administered. This may be a consideration as to how policies and practices are aligned with other resources that could benefit CSBG eligible families. I know that some tribes here today may administer Head Start or LIHEAP and possibly USDA supported food distribution programs, and determining policies around eligibility and service coordination can have a major impact on your ability to comprehensively wrap services around your community members. So remember, as you use CSBG to develop your anti-poverty strategy, think about how to maximize input from your community. Think about the array of services that are needed in your community, and think about how to coordinate resources across your community. So let's see if we're testing this. So we're going to try to launch a poll question to see if you have heard or know what are the 3 elements of an anti-poverty strategy. We just talked about it a little bit, but I'm going to give you a moment to see if you can answer. What are the 3 elements of an anti-poverty strategy? Crisis planning, core services, communications, consistent programming, community convening and coordinated resources, community-centric planning, comprehensive service delivery and coordinated resources, or comprehensive service delivery, core communications, and crisis resources. I see some people answering in the chat, and I think some people are submitting their answers. Okay, let's see what we got. There's a race. There's a race between A, B, and C. No one is thinking D yet. Let's see. Gonna give you like 10 more seconds to cast your vote. Okay, and so while it may encompass all of the things in some shape or fashion that we discussed today, for today, the correct answer was community-centric planning, comprehensive service delivery, and coordinated resources. So for the most part, you all did well. You did well. So before I highlight a few sections of the tribal plan that are key to our discussion and foundations for success and a resource for capturing aspects of your anti-poverty strategy, I want to quickly reflect on our PEAK framework, which was introduced probably 2 years ago. PEAK stands for Performance, Evaluation, Accountability, Availability, and Knowledge. And it reminds us the tools that are available to us to help us tell the CSBG story and grow its impact. We're going to specifically look at the tribal plan. In its totality, the tribal plan is listed under accountability and knowledge of the framework. However, aspects of the tribal plan are included in all areas. So performance, evaluation, accountability, availability, and knowledge. For performance, the CSBG tribal plan should clearly define expected outcomes and service goals related to community needs assessments that center your work on reducing poverty, revitalizing communities, and empowering low-income families. The plan gives you an opportunity to think about tribally informed indicators and evaluation processes, including how you ensure training and technical assistance for those who support the work of the block grant is provided. Submission of the plan is part of your basic accountability to comply with the CSBG Act to receive the funding, as well as to demonstrate that systems are in place to manage federal funds responsibly and transparently. Submission of the tribal plan is key to ensuring the availability of CSBG services to families navigating poverty, essential for them to meet their basic needs. In addition, the framework points us to how and where information about services is made publicly available through reporting and planning processes, and helps us to think about how to create partnerships, to leverage resources, to make services more available and sustainable beyond just federal funding. Finally, the tribal plan addresses knowledge of tribal administrators to make data-driven decisions, use available guidance, and learn from best practices to successfully administer CSBG. Plans show evidence of how knowledge from community needs assessments, stakeholder engagement, and prior performance has also informed your strategies. Applying the PEAK framework to the development of your CSBG tribal plans will allow you to strengthen the integrity of the plan development, making sure the voices of the elders have been spoken into its development. You can focus on results and accountability. You can ensure alignment with local tribal community needs. And together, as stewards of these resources, we can demonstrate that CSBG's mission to support the eradication of poverty is still relevant and achievable. So I'm going to stop talking again and ask you one more question. We just talked about PEAK, PEAAK, and what that stands for. So I think it's being dropped in the chat for those who want to answer by chat. And then there should be a poll question that is launching for you to answer. And let's see if we have another race, or let's see if everybody gets it correct. Let's see what we're going to do. You see. Okay, looks like we got a little bit of a race here. A little bit of a race going on between A, C, and D. Let's see who's going to win the race. Got some people dropping A in the chat. Give you just a couple of more seconds. And we're going to end the poll, and I will let you know that the correct answer is A. PEAK stands for performance, evaluation, accountability, availability, and knowledge. You all did really well on that one too. So give yourselves a little virtual round of applause. You're staying with me. We're making it through. We're almost there. I would also say that the tribal plan reflects your commitment to anti-poverty strategies that produce meaningful outcomes for every community in which you serve. Want to bring up the Act, which according to Section 676D of the CSBG Act, CSBG tribes and tribal organizations must prepare and submit an application to receive CSBG funding. The CSBG Tribal Plan serves as both an application for funding, but it's also a roadmap for how each tribe and tribal organization will administer CSBG funding. CSBG Tribal Plans, and we'll drop that link for you in the chat as well, are due by September 1st every year. The CSBG Tribal Plan is based on the federal fiscal year, which runs October 1st through September 30th. And CSBG grant recipients have the option to submit a CSBG Tribal Plan that covers one fiscal year or 2 consecutive fiscal years. The Community Services Block Grant Tribal Plan and Application version 1.0, also known as our fillable PDF tool, is the Office of Management and Budget's approved document now and required for use. A complete tribal plan submission, and this is just because I promised to do some basics from our tribal webinar, includes an electronic SF424M, a tribal administrative information and transmittal letter, the fillable tool that we just mentioned, and the required attachments like proof of public inspection. And the complete tribal webinar, if anyone missed it and wants to access it, can be found on the CSBG events page under the FY25 webinars, and we're dropping that in the chat for you as well. So this is my last poll question, I promise. We're going to see if you all heard the answer to this. The poll question is true or false? Based on the legislation, tribes have the option of submitting a tribal plan. I'm going to launch a poll question. This will be the last one just to make sure everybody is tracking. True or false? Tribes have the option of submitting a plan. Got another race going on. And it's not intended to be a trick question, but I could see how it could be. Give you just a couple of more seconds. So in order for tribes to receive funding, I probably should have caveated the question with that. Tribes don't have the option to submit a plan. They must submit a tribal plan in order to receive CSBG funding. So the answer to this poll question was false. Okay, now we're going to continue forward for the rest of the day. No more poll questions, I promise. To further support how developing the CSBG Tribal Plan supports building anti-poverty strategies, I'm just going to highlight sections 3, 4, and 5, and 6 of the Tribal Plan. But again, I encourage you to review the entire webinar previously mentioned. So starting with sections 3, the CSBG Tribal Plan Goals and Objectives is where you would detail the CSBG specific goals and objectives for which the CSBG funding would target within the tribe or tribal organization. The identified goals and objectives should address how the tribe will remove obstacles that block the achievement of self-sufficiency, assist families with securing and retaining meaningful employment, attaining literacy and education, wisely using available income, obtaining and maintaining adequate housing, obtaining emergency assistance, active participation in community affairs, supporting youth development, and we've heard examples of all of these in our opening today, coordinating with other programs related to the purposes of the CSBG Act, and the important forming linkages to fill service gaps. Section 4, CSBG community-based feedback, confirms that the tribe or tribal organization solicited feedback from tribal members and tribal members served and demonstrates evidence of public participation, underscoring the anti-poverty strategy is community informed. This is where evidence of how feedback was collected will be documented. CSBG, we cannot underscore it enough, is meant to be responsive to the needs of the community. The spirit of the CSBG Act calls for active involvement of persons with low income to actively inform the planning and implementation of programs designed to address poverty. So much like storytelling in tribal communities, including voices of those who benefit from CSBG, empowers community members, giving them a voice in shaping solutions to their own challenges. Moving to section 5, where the tribe details how it will allocate administrative and programmatic funding, recognizing that only up to 5% of funding can be used for administration and no less than 95% can be allocated for programming. On this slide, on slide 15, item 5.1 allows you to complete the table for year 1 and year 2, applicable to whether you are building out a 1-year or 2-year plan. But the table mirrors the service domains included in the annual report, which will be covered in an upcoming session. And it also aligns with many of the primary factors mentioned previously as we talked about how an anti-poverty strategy addresses the social determinants of health. Lastly, for our session today is section 6, which is individual eligibility and targeted community eligibility. And this is where tribal grant recipients detail the policies and procedures for determining income eligibility. And based on what we learned about anti-poverty strategies, policies and practices are a critical component for how CSBG can be leveraged with other funding sources and programs to maximize its impact. And so I want to stop sharing slides for a moment and do a time check. And I think, yep, we're doing pretty good. We're about 30 some minutes into our presentation. I want to invite your voices back into the session. So let's think about what we've talked about this morning as it relates to an anti-poverty strategy. And before I talk about training and technical assistance that's available to you, I want to see if anyone has heard anything that will assist you in planning how best to use CSBG in developing your anti-poverty strategy, or if anyone is willing to share how CSBG is currently used in your anti-poverty strategy. So I'm inviting you. It's not mandatory, but we would love to hear from some of our tribal administrators what you've heard that will help you in developing your tribe's anti-poverty strategy utilizing CSBG, or what you're already doing to use CSBG as part of your anti-poverty strategy. And if you'll raise your hand or come off of mute, I'll be glad to recognize you and invite your voice into our space today. I see Brenda's hand, and I see one person that looks like they're thinking, but Brenda, I'll let you get us started.
Thanks, Verna. It's always you and me, kid. But that's okay. Um, oh my goodness, what was the question again? I just had a
Anything
flew
that
out of
you've
my
heard
mind.
today that will help you use CSBG to develop your anti-poverty strategy, or how you're currently using CSBG to develop your anti-poverty strategy to meet your tribal community's needs.
Yeah, we started off with a needs assessment, um, and just trying to capture that data and basing that information off of, the programs and stuff that we create. We do have an emergency program that we run off of the CSBG to help folks, especially during the winter time with heating and electric bills, rent or mortgage. And that's been pretty much what we've always used the CSBG funds for. It's been critical in our community. It's helped us out a lot in our members. And we also have funding that we help with our support our food pantry and our powwow. But this year we decided to try something new and develop two different programs. One is to a computer program to help elders with basic computer training and how to use Zoom, so that we can elevate that participation. And the other one is courses for traditional hunting.
Okay.
So,
Thank you very much for sharing those, Brenda.
you're welcome.
Is there someone else who will join the conversation and kind of share anything that you've heard that will help you develop an anti-poverty strategy, or what you're currently using your CSBG dollars to support as your anti-poverty strategy? I'm going to risk doing this. Um, there's my timer. Roberta, if you will join us, that'll be great.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Awesome. So yes, we also did the community needs assessment, and we have food cache, and our food cache is open Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. But we also have an educational fishery, and with the educational fishery, they provide salmon to the food cache. So it's prepackaged, and we're able to give it out to people. The other thing is we have a greenhouse. So like yesterday, they brought a whole bunch of cabbage and cabbage. What else was there? Cauliflower. So we have been getting stuff from the greenhouse all summer long and into the fall. So we're able to provide that to people in our community. And our food cache is supported by many different grants. And so we're able to put together a food box for up to 4 days. And if they are not receiving food stamps, we'll help them with the food stamp application also.
Sounds like I need to come to the greenhouse. Sounds like you got some good stuff going on there. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Can I possibly encourage one additional person to share something with us today before we move towards ending this particular session? I know there's somebody. I know there is. I'm just going to randomly go down the participant list and see if I can encourage someone. How about Angela Brana? Maybe.
I knew you were going to call me. How did I know this? So, yeah, hi, my name's Angela Branham, and I am with the Catawba Indian Nation. I'm the Director of Family and Social Services for Catawba. Um, and somebody keeps calling me. I apologize. Anyways, um, so what we did was they actually did away when I came back to work for the tribe. They had actually done away with our food pantry, and it was so needed in this community. We also have a farmers market that we collaborate with, and also Second Harvest Food Bank of Metrolina, which is out of Charlotte, which is right over the river from us. So we have collaborated with those programs to bring additional food to the community, canned goods and fresh vegetables and stuff like that. Also, our tribe has a farm that they grow vegetables and stuff. So that was just something that was really needed back in the community, and we are just glad to have it back. So that's how CSBG has been helping us definitely build that partnership, the partnership up and continue that valuable commodity to the tribe. So there you go.
Thank you. Can you
You're
all help
welcome.
me by showing some virtual appreciation to Brenda and Roberta and Angela for all chiming in with their voices today? We appreciate you all for sharing. It makes this space so much richer when we're able to engage. So thank you all very much for joining in and sharing. We can pull the presentation back up, and I'll try to wrap this up so we can have a break and then get ready for our next session if we need to. If not, we'll keep rolling. But one of the very important things that I wanted to make sure you walk away from here today with is knowing that the Office of Community Services Division of Community Assistance is committed to training and technical assistance and providing you, Janelle mentioned it, with the highest levels of excellence in customer service. And I encourage you to take full advantage of the team of program, data, and fiscal specialists, along with the network of providers who are available to you. Slides 18, 19, and 20, and you can just scroll through those, allow you to connect names and faces and regions supported by our program, our policy data evaluation, and our fiscal teams. And I'm hopeful that if they're here, they're engaging with you in the chat, introducing themselves and and making themselves available to you. Likely someone has already messaged you or they will to offer you one-on-one targeted technical assistance relative to this training, a pending plan or annual report, or to make sure you are able to schedule ongoing monthly exchanges. But your assigned regional program specialists are on slide 18, on slide 19, and you will be able to receive these. You will have your policy data and evaluation team members. And then on slide 20 is our fiscal and accountability team who is available to you. In addition, there's a network of technical assistance providers, some of who I'm happy to see are present today, and I encourage you to place your contact information in the chat. I specifically believe I saw someone from NCAP, maybe a few from NASCASP, as well as CapLaw, if you haven't already done so. And I want to specifically highlight Lux Consulting Group, who is our contractor focusing solely on tribal matters and who has supported the planning of this annual meeting. But there is the National Association for State Community Services Programs, NASCASP, the National Community Action Partnership, with NCAP, and Community Action Law, or CapLaw. And then we have our Regional Performance and Innovation Consortium, who we call RPIC, along with state associations. So as we conclude, I want to offer you an opportunity to provide us with feedback on this session with one, I know I promised no more polling questions, but one more polling question where you can indicate how you would rate the usefulness of this session and discussion. I would just ask you to note that 1 is not useful at all, and the scale goes up to 5, which is extremely useful. And I would also say, if you want to provide us in-depth feedback about this particular session, you can always email us at csbgtribes@acf.hhs.gov. So I'll give you just a few minutes to participate in that final polling question. I would just also like to once again just say a special thank you for all of you, for your time, your attention, and your preparation. I want to close the session as you continue to provide your feedback with what I believe is an actionable thought for you to remember, your visualization exercise, and how we make that come into fruition. As Brenda said, it felt real. I believe we can actually obtain it and make it real. But successful administration of CSBG requires a combination of hard work, determination, strategic planning, partnering, and perseverance. And I believe those are characteristics that you all embody on an everyday basis. So I'm going to say thank you again, and I am going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Jamie Muskoff, who I want you all to do something special for me. She is actually celebrating her birthday today. So if you don't mind, can you help me both welcome and celebrate her by showing her some virtual appreciation and birthday love? Just give her a few minutes, give her some warm greetings in the chat if you desire. But happy birthday and welcome, Jamie. I'm inviting you to join our space now.
Thank you, Berna. That's so exciting. I appreciate that so much. I know as you're talking, it's a big birthday for me. It's 50, so it's kind of crazy, and my phone is blowing up. So I'm doing my best to keep it away from me. But it's so sweet to have all the wishes. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. Well, I know that this isn't necessarily a break time, but I definitely invite everybody to just take a minute to take a breath. Verna did such a beautiful job of doing that visualization exercise. I think that's so powerful. But if y'all just need to like shake it out a little bit, stand up, stretch out a little bit. I know it's a lot to sit in front of a computer all day and hear presentations. But I also think that this is such a special gathering, and this particular group of people is incredible to be with. So I'm really excited to be here. Feel free, drink your water, stretch out a little bit. And I'm just going to launch right into here so that maybe we can have a little bit extra time later today. But first of all, aloha and welcome to today's session on strengthening grant management through innovation and technology. My name is Dr. Jamie Muskoff. I'm a descendant.
Jamie, we lost your audio if you are talking. We may have to let Jamie rejoin if she's lost connection. So if you all bear with us just one moment, I think we've lost Jamie's audio. Give us just one moment and we'll try to get it back started. And let me make sure it's not me. You all are still hearing me?
We can hear you,
Yes, we can
Verna.
hear you, Verna.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
So I would ask Jordan or Monica if you could text message Jamie, just in case she thinks that she's presenting and she's lost her audio.
Yeah, I've reached out.
Sure thing, Verna.
Thank you. While we're waiting, Jessica, I believe we have a resource slide. Can we share the resource slide while we're waiting for Jamie to reconnect? Did I lose Jessica too? Am I frozen?
No, you're good.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm
Am
here.
I back?
Jamie's back.
I actually
She's
don't
back.
have Jamie's back.
Am I back?
Oh,
Verna?
okay. Yes,
Am-
you're back. I was
Am I
just
back?
bobbing and weaving and dancing while you were gone.
Thank you. Thank you. Also,
Okay.
a characteristic of the Pacific Northwest is that we have bad internet sometimes because I'm in the woods. So I
Okay.
apologize.
No worries. Okay, I'm
All
going to go back off and I'm going to close my mic so that you can take back over. Thanks, Jamie.
All right, I'm going to start over. I'm so sorry, y'all. That is not a nice thing to happen. So I'm going to start over. I'm going to say, well, aloha, welcome. I'm Jamie Muskoff. I am a descendant of the indigenous peoples of Hawaii, but I'm coming to you from Port Orchard, Washington, on the ancestral lands of the Suquamish, the Cayuse, Walla Walla, and Umatilla. As a Kanaka Iwi woman, a mother, a grandmother, a wife, a scholar, a technologist, and a social worker, I'm truly honored to be here with you today. I'm here to serve you as a member of the CSBG Tribal Training and Technical Assistance team and as a Vice President of Technical Assistance and Knowledge Management at Lux Consulting Group. But for the last 5 years, I've also been on the faculty of the Master of Science in Information and Knowledge Strategy program at Columbia University in the city of New York, which I mention because it's that role that's going to most impact how I lead my sessions throughout the annual meeting. As a scholar practitioner of information and knowledge strategy, I am a huge fan of what we're going to talk about today and throughout the next couple days, which is using data, technology, art, and storytelling to make your job simpler and your work more visible and impactful. I usually teach in what's called a flipped classroom style. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's a very highly participatory and community-based style, and it requires a certain level of trust and understanding because we enter our learning space knowing that everyone is a valuable contributor, not just the person in the role of instructor. So right now, I would really like to invite you to participate and engage as much as possible. I know Verna has been encouraging that all along. We will continue to encourage that. You are all highly knowledgeable learning partners, and this is our time. So is it all right if we talk together and come into this learning space curious and courageous today? I hope so. So let's get started. We know that, and I'm not flipping my slide on purpose, just a moment. we know that managing federal grants like CSBG requires a balance of compliance, meeting community needs, and often limited time and resources. Today, we're going to explore how practical tools and strategies can lighten the administrative load, give you back valuable time, and ensure stronger outcomes for your communities. This presentation is not just about technology. It's about this whole system that we need to use and having the right approaches that fit into your work style, your organizational culture, and your community priorities. So let's first, if you don't mind, this is my first participation request, is if you want to come off mute, please do, but you can definitely put in the chat. What's one word, just one word, that currently describes how you feel about managing grants? For example, it could be amazing. It could be overwhelmed, organized, curious, whatever word comes to mind to you about the process of managing grants, whether it's CSBG or any other grant. I would love to see that in the chat. And I'm also going to ask my teammates if they wouldn't mind kind of shouting some of these out if you hear them, because I cannot see the chat right now since I'm sharing this screen. Anybody want to shout out one words?
Plate spinner,
Plate spinner.
critical,
Critical.
always learning,
Mm-hmm.
learning curve,
Mm-hmm.
challenging, ever
Yeah.
evolving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I missed any.
All right. Those are great ones to start with. I think that these are very common. Monica, as our primary technical assistance provider for Tribal TA, will probably tell you she's heard those things a few times, right? And she herself has been a tribal grant administrator for her own tribe, and can absolutely relate to that. But I think all of us, whether we've been in that position or not, can really relate to this sense of, there's something important to do. It has a lot of different and difficult components to it. You want to make sure you're doing it right, and you're also doing a ton of other things too. So, hopefully when we talk through some of these things today, we will see a little bit of a perspective shift, or at least a little bit of hopefulness that all of that, the challenge and the overwhelm and the spinning a lot of plates, that there are some solutions to help you get better at that, reduce some of that overwhelm, and hopefully, make your job as grant administrators in particular a whole lot easier. So as grant management has become more complex in some cases. Federal reporting requirements continue to expand. But I think we're lucky with CSBG in that there's such an incredible team here of people who are very good at explaining what are those requirements for you. And they're really good at working with everybody who is a grantee, and certainly, people in tribal communities who have, I think a lot more to work with. A lot of times, much smaller staff or one person even doing a lot of the work. But here's the good news. The landscape of grants management is also shifting toward better tools, and so is the world. Data systems and practices that are there now can definitely be used to reduce duplication, automate tasks, and allow you to focus more on community impact than on paperwork. So, as we go through this, I'm definitely going to encourage you to open your mind a little bit. I know that a lot of tools can be overwhelming, so I'm not going to talk too much about tools, but I am going to give you a couple of ideas to sort of get your mind going, because I do think it's all about getting back to the root of what you are really there to do, and that's support and serve human beings. And it can be really hard to do that without burning yourself out if you're also burdened with so many other administrative tasks. So let's think about, what innovation is. It's essentially just doing things differently in a way that's going to be beneficial to everyone else, including you. Innovation itself drives transparency and accountability. Our digital tools that we have can enable better data storytelling to ensure that we are not just compliant, but also maximizing how we tell the story of community impact. And definitely digital tools that you already have access to enhance CSBG grant management. And we'll talk a little bit about those. But what I'm really going to get into are some of these tools that can help you in your day-to-day potentially, do more of that work in ways that will help you tell your story to the government, but also tell your story in the community, which is really, really important. Already we've heard this morning such incredible stories of how these grant funds are being utilized, which is exceptional, right? We're hearing and seeing that people are being fed, people are having access to things they didn't have before. These are really the truly important stories that need to be told beyond just numbers. So anyway, but thinking about that and thinking about the fact that you've probably got a lot of different tools that you're working with now, can you all say in the chat or unmic, what's your biggest challenge right now? What's your biggest CSBG management challenge right now from a system standpoint? Are you, what are you struggling with data reporting? Do you find it difficult to keep your tracking what's happening with compliance? Do you find it difficult to collect data? Are you having hard times with communication tools? Staff turnover is another part of this system of potential challenges that come up. And again, Monica, if you are typing in the chat, please share.
Sure.
I'd
So
love
the
to
first
see.
one so the first one is our grants compliance team.
Mhm.
And the second one is all the programs we have to access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody else want to come off of mic and talk about challenges? I know it can be hard to talk about it, but I guarantee you that you're not the only people in the room that have these challenges. I think the biggest challenge that we definitely hear about is how many things are there to administer and how potentially you're just one person doing all of that work. Anything else before I move on?
Nothing else in the chat.
All right, great. So let's talk about first, like, what do you have to sort of help you with this, right? You all are very familiar with the different systems that CSBG already provides. You have a performance management website, there's grant solutions, which some of you are definitely familiar with putting your data into. But down below here, this is going to be sort of the emphasis of what we talk about and think through today is, you've got financial and contract management systems that your organization probably invests in to some degree to help you manage lots of different things, not just CSBG. But then there's also this whole set of tools that are for visualization and for communication. Maybe it's you guys send newsletters out via a MailChimp or some kind of listserv via email. Maybe you have the good fortune of having access to a tool that will help you create really nice flyers or really nice reports that go out to different people, or maybe you even have someone who's very talented around you that helps you put those things together. It's all great, but it's all, like some of you have said, kind of overwhelming. It's a lot of different things to take on. So one of the things I wanted to ask too is, when you think about all these different tools that you use, what do you think you spend the most time doing? Like, where are you spending your time? If you look at this list, are you, hopefully you're not spending too much time uploading your data, because that's a very specific thing that you've got to do. And hopefully it's easy to you at this point, but are there other things, other tools that you have to use where you're taking up a lot of time? Like, I'm sending a lot of emails. I am making a lot of, reports or anything like that. If you can put those in the chat. Sorry, Monica, is there anything coming through?
There is not, but I'm curious to see
Oh.
how many of you all on the chat, just adding to this. I know that record keeping practices differ between tribes, and there are a lot of you spending a lot of time doing that. So we have one, new to navigating grant solutions,
Okay.
and then database exporting.
Yeah. Great. Anything else? We'll leave a little bit of space. I'm curious if there are any other tools that you used while you're trying to do everything related to CSBG.
It's-
Anything.
So
Could
we
be
have a
Word.
comment.
Go ahead.
So we have a comment that says it's less consuming now that the programs, etc., have been created.
Great. That's good. All right. Well, let's talk about some of these tools. And I'm going to actually take a risk here, and hopefully my connection stays good for y'all. But we're going to talk about tools.
Jamie, sorry to
yep.
interrupt. We have one more that might. So it reports small overworked staff need new system to utilize for data.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And just out of curiosity, are you using like Excel to keep your data, or a specific system to keep your data in?
Yes, she says.
Excel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty true for everybody. If someone is not using Excel, I would love to see that in the chat as well and hear about that. But I think for the most part, all of us keep data. It's pretty simple to use either Excel or some kind of sheet. At our company, we have Google Sheets, and we use that to keep track of all of that kind of data. But yeah, that makes sense, right? You're spending a lot of time working in these tools to just keep up. And sometimes they're not the prettiest. Sometimes they don't necessarily, they take a little bit of time to get used to if it's something that's not familiar to you yet. But also, I think, when we're working with data programs or sheets, it's hard to see how all those numbers and all of that information that you're kind of keeping in these cells that are staring at you on the screen, how all of that sort of translates into really powerful stories. Because I can hear your very powerful stories when you're speaking them out loud, but sometimes I think it's hard to imagine how are we going to connect those data points that just seem like numbers to us into something that's going to be really meaningful. So, I would like to offer that the tools that you have at your disposal right now, you can use them to, to start transforming your data into stories, right? That data-driven reporting that you have is so important. Even if you think that, oh gosh, I had this event and we just don't have time to keep track of how many people were here, or how many, we don't have time to talk to anybody because we're busy, but we don't have time to talk to anybody to really get an understanding of, what they're going to do with the services, or what they're going to do with the things that we're putting together, or how they liked the program that we put together. We haven't had time to collect that. I can't tell you enough how important that is to do for yourselves more than anything else, right? I think, it's important for funding, obviously, in this case, but it's also important for you to be able to get that community buy-in for the things that you're doing, and to get community support for the things you're doing as well. So taking the time to take the data that you put in these spreadsheets that don't seem like much now, can really help you leverage information that's going to be useful to you later when you're trying to tell stories, whether it's in your annual report for CSBG or in the community, right? When you're talking to others about how CSBG funds or any other programs that you administer are impacting your ability to access services or provide services to people. there's definitely a need to sort of try to use these tools in a way that's streamlined, right? And I think that sometimes that can be difficult because there's so many different kinds of systems that we use and tools that we use, and it can be that sort of, the price of switching from one to another as you're trying to do many other things that can be challenging as well. But I think more and more the CSBG has been able to provide ways to really streamline your data collection and also your submission of data for things that are important to how you're administering the program. And hopefully that some of that is saving you some time. But I'm going to show you in a little bit some of the things that you can do with the data that you're already collecting to save yourself time in other ways, specifically as you're telling stories about your data and what you're doing in the community. And I can't emphasize enough sort of the importance of these, these communication tools that are out there, things that you might have access to or seen before, but maybe don't know the power of at this point in time. If you do, you definitely need to point yourself out, because I think that people would really appreciate knowing which of their peers are really smart at different tools that might go beyond like the standard tool set that you're all using. But anyway, so let me stop sharing here for a second. And then I'm going to share a little bit so that y'all understand something, what is this one talking about? All right, I've got to go back to my share window just a minute. And I'm going to share the screen here with y'all real quick. Hopefully. Sorry, just a minute. The price of switching. Okay, here we go. Hopefully y'all can see this different screen. There's 3 different tools that I wanted to be able to show you that's different maybe from the tool set that you're using, but can take the things that you're already doing and putting into your CSBG annual reports or into your spreadsheets and turn them into something really cool. So the first one is Canva. Anybody raise hands familiar with this tool, Canva? Great. Excited. Awesome. Very good. Canva is a tool that you can use for free, but it also is a tool that I believe, and Monica can correct me if I'm wrong, you would be able to acquire if, as part of, your CSBG program, using your CSBG funds, if it's helpful to you to help advertise the programs that you're putting together, help create sort of reports or things that would be useful to you. And so I'm showing you here one way that you can use Canva, and just like as a price point, and I'm not a salesperson, nor am I endorsing any of these tools beyond just saying these are really helpful, useful tools that you could try. But I think I want you to understand, for one person to subscribe to Canva for a year, it's $120. For 3 people in your organization to have different accounts for Canva, it's $300 using Canva Teams. So it's a relatively inexpensive tool for what it does. And a lot of times if people are familiar with Canva, they usually think, oh, it's just to create like nice graphics or social media posts. And yes, that's absolutely true. But recently Canva, I went to a Canva conference, actually their annual event, and they released this whole set of AI-driven tools. And this is, an example of something that you could do using Canva. So I've already loaded my prompts here, and I'm just going to scroll so that we don't have that technical thing going on. But tomorrow you're going to see a sample annual report that was put together by the team here as part of Minette's presentation. But what I did is I took some of the data out of that report and I used Canva AI. All I did was go into Canva, and as soon as you get into the home screen, there's a little prompt box at the top, and you can click Canva AI, and then all you do is tell it what you need. So I told it to please use the following data to create a one-page report for a tribal council meeting. Make the report visuals impactful, clear, with a focus on the main data points and featuring people specifically. So I gave it some data points, right? And these are data points that are taken from a typical CSBG annual report, right? There's 56 citizens supported through Small Business Incubator. A new Native-owned business was launched. 73 residents attended job readiness workshops. 48 resumes were prepared through clinics. 28 new CDL licenses were earned, expanding transportation and workforce. And then there was a success story about Jason R., who runs a cultural food business, employing community members. Okay, so that's the prompt that I gave it. And immediately what it does is it generates ideas of sample one-page reports, which is what I asked it to do, that are graphic, that are beautiful to look at, and that immediately present you with different opportunities and options to then customize. So I like this one, for example, and if I click on this, it might be hard for y'all to see, but it's not perfectly filled with everything that I gave it, but it has a sense of what I wanted to create, right? So, it gave a title already, it gave a date for it. It told us about, this year we faced challenges, but achieved significant community support and engagement. It talked about the business incubator, job readiness workshops, and resume
Jamie?
preparation clinics. Go ahead.
Jamie?
Yeah.
Jamie, we can't see the visual.
That's right.
Oh,
We see the screen of Canva, we see the prompt, but not the result.
oh, that's weird.
I don't know
This,
if you have to scroll down.
do
Because we
you
still see
see?
what you typed into Canva.
Oh,
It
you
might
don't
be
see.
the fact that you opened a new screen, maybe, and that you need to
Oh,
share that new screen with the in Teams.
do you see it now?
No.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing again. That's really bizarre, but okay.
Oh, Margaret sees a report. You see a report, Margaret?
Do you see it? It is kind of like brown maroon colored.
No,
I don't know.
we see the white and purple canvas screen.
Yeah.
Where you use the following prompt, and it still has the ask me anything at the bottom. So if you're sharing just that window, you may have to stop sharing and then share the window with the actual graphic.
This is Margaret. I can't see the prompts, but I see use the following data to create a one-page report for tribal council meeting. Then it says 56 citizens supported through Small Business Center, and you have a couple of other bullets. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's the prompts. That's it.
I think Jamie might be frozen.
Yeah.
She is. We'll give her a minute to reload and come back to us. Thank you all for your patience. While we're waiting for Jamie to come back, does anyone have a technology tool that you're utilizing in your tribe or tribal organization that is working really well that you want to share with the group? Yes, Margaret.
Ours is a combined CSBG is in our 477 plan, and our tribe has created a database which we maintain the shared services, but we do a couple other things as well. We do keep the Excel spreadsheet of anything we place a requisition for. We also have monthly reports by our case managers, our staff. They provide a summary of any event that they attend. They take pictures. They invite notes or sign-in pages. So it's a multiple approach to gather what we need to be able to report successfully.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Some of your peers may decide they want to reach out to you to learn more. I just want us to be able to use every minute. It looks like Jamie has her report back up. Jamie, are you back with us?
Oh, good. You may not be able to see me, but you can see the report on your
We
screen.
see the report and we hear you. Continue.
Thank goodness. Sorry. Tomorrow, I promise I will be someplace with a better signal. So here's the community impact report, and all of this was created in probably under a minute. Just me taking that information and plugging it into Canva to generate this great visual for me. Right, this took very little time. You obviously can put in different details if you want to, but again, really handy just to take some numbers that you might have not had in a nice presentation form and do it really simply. Does that make sense to everybody as something that that would be helpful to use as you're putting together your reports and things? Great. Awesome. Thanks, Brenda. I can see the good news about having to connect this way is I can now see the chat. All right. But what I can't see is myself, and I can't see what's sharing on the screen. So let me check something really quick. Are you able to see a new tab on my screen, or are you only seeing the report so far?
We now see create templates using Canva AI. We no longer see the report.
Wonderful. All right. So this is another tool that I wanted to share with you. It's called Scribe. Okay. And one of the things that I think is helpful is one of the things I know that we hear a lot of is high turnover of grant administrators, or maybe you have to move on to do something else and someone else has to come in your place to start doing any of the things that you need to do as part of your grant administration work. This is pretty common in a lot of places. So one of the things as a knowledge strategist that I absolutely recommend to folks is to consider finding a tool that can help you capture your processes, especially the processes that you do online, really easily. And so Scribe is just another one of those tools. It is a little bit more costly. It's more like $23 a month for one user, but you could definitely subscribe to it for a certain period of time if you wanted to sort of create a lot of documents that will help you document your processes. So I use as an example, when I was making that Canva report, what I just explained to you, I had this tool, Scribe, record what I was doing, right? So I just kind of went through my business. I was clicking on things, I was typing things in, and it automatically creates a process document for me. So it's got screenshots in here, it's got instructions, it's got a nice little light up thing. And I can, if I pay for this, I'm using the free version right now, I can export this as a PDF and save it if I want to, or if I don't want to pay for the paid version, I can share this really easily by just clicking the share button here and sending it to somebody else. So they'd still see that it's in Scribe, but really, really easy and powerful way to just record all of your processes. And you can edit these things. So if I wanted to edit this document, for example, and I want to edit the instructions, all I'd have to do is click edit and type away. Okay, and then I can be done editing. But really helpful, really powerful tool that you might be able to use and put in your toolbox. All right, and the last thing, hopefully I don't lose connection here either. The last thing I wanted to share with you is a tool that I think most people are already familiar with, but have mixed feelings about, right? And I haven't at all touched on data sovereignty specifically here, but I know that whether or not data sovereignty is your concern, a lot of people have concerns about using AI tools for the sake of privacy. And I'm so glad that Minette shared a little bit about the resources that you have with artificial intelligence through ACF. But ChatGPT, this is the free version again. It can also be used to do a lot of administrative work that you may not have time to do, specifically writing, but it also does things like create spreadsheets for you, which can be really helpful, especially if you've got a lot of data and you want to take those spreadsheets and turn them into something, tables that you use in reports, et cetera. But in this case, what I did is I took a sample CSBG Tribal annual report that Minette provided, and I decided, okay, I don't have time to write a summary of this for our leadership. So I'm going to ask it to act as a leader and a decision maker and generate a summary of this report that's focused on the outcomes and impacts that would be most helpful to you as a leader, right? So, and then here's the output that it comes up with, right? It's got an executive summary of what's in the report. It also summarizes the key service outcomes. So, here's all the services that are covered inside of that report, service areas. It talks about financial investments. And again, these things are not perfect when they come out, but if you look at this, this is a great starting point for a document that you might need to produce to do some reporting and to show other folks, what happened so that they don't have to read the entire report. I know people that I work with a lot of times love executive summaries, and, so ChatGPT can be helpful to you in producing summaries like that are really quick, that you can shoot off in an email really fast if you need to, not just for this report, but for other things. And the other thing about ChatGPT is that it also will suggest things to you like, okay, I made this summary. Do you also want me to create a visual one-page dashboard for this, for a briefing? So it has the capacity to create images for you as well, which I think can be really helpful. But again, so much that you can do with this tool using information, and this is just my personal preference, using information that's already public, especially, is really great, a great way to use ChatGPT to get through a lot of different documents that you might use, and or ones that you create, and just write really great summaries or create other products that can help people understand what all was in the data that you shared. So does anybody have any questions about those three tools, Canva or Scribe or ChatGPT? Or any strong feelings like, I hate these things. Why are you showing them to me? Which I'm okay with too. All right. Monica, have you, in your support, has anyone ever brought you questions about tools like these? Or when you're providing a TA, are you mostly helping people with spreadsheets and the typical CSBG tools?
Actually, we haven't discussed AI tools as much in any of the TTA that I've provided, but hopefully this is a step in a new direction to help people navigate something new that will ease the burden off of some of the grant administrators. I know that we all know, as a previous tribal program administrator, that we're spread pretty thin. So I'm learning right alongside them, Jamie.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all are, right? And I just want everybody to know, I know we're coming into the time, but I want everyone to know that it is, only about 33% of businesses out there in the world actually are doing anything with AI. So I hope that, if you do venture into these kind of tools, that it's not anything that you're behind on. I know people get a little bit of a fear of, oh, I don't know anything about these, so how can I use them? But they can be really helpful to you, and you don't have to worry about being behind. Asking questions is good. I see that Jane asked, are there online training for any of these tools? Absolutely. And Canva has an entire academy that you can go to with tons of free videos online. You can get certified in just learning how to use Canva to do data reports or generate things using Canva AI. And all of that is free. So I absolutely, take advantage of these tools that even for the slight costs, they can be worth it. And a lot of the training is free or even available on YouTube. And of course, as TTA providers, we're more than happy to help you walk through a lot of that stuff too. So very quickly, apologies again for all the connection things. the bottom line is this: it's not about just using tools to help us, do fancy things. It's about using tools that are going to help us continuously improve our process for managing grants so that it's easier for us, not harder, so that it's going to take less time for us to do things rather than more time. And it's really going to allow us the ability to, maintain compliance, maintain privacy, but also give us the opportunity to do the very human-centered work that you end up doing all the time, talking to people, helping people. And I think that that's such a critical part of all the things that you do, in addition to all of the management that you do for grant programs. So here's just some basic key takeaways that you'll have. Technology is a force multiplier. It can help with community-centered innovation. It's not about just reporting, for the purpose of programs, but it is also about how can we leverage these kinds of tools to help in our community do cool things. And, I see a lot of really neat youth trainings that are available too for AI type tools like Canva, et cetera. But, these can absolutely be a part of your tool set when it comes time to putting together your data for CSBG. And of course, we're here for technical assistance always. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we're glad to help you, and learn with all of you together. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Can we show some virtual appreciation to Jamie for her presentation on technology? I think people have learned at least been exposed to 3 tools, whether they were new, somewhat familiar or not. We appreciate what you have shared with us during this session. I don't know if it's my computer clock or if we are just running well ahead of schedule today. It looks like we are. And so I think we were slated to have a 10-minute break a little bit later, but I'm going to ask if we can make an adjustment. And I'm not asking you to log out of the meeting. Please don't log out because it might be issues coming back in. But if we could give everybody about 10 minutes, let's just say it's 2:50. And let's have everyone come back at 3:00 and we can start our 3rd and 4th sessions for today. And if we end up wrapping early, I'm sure all of you have plenty of additional things that you can do this afternoon. But let's be respectful of our bodies, and let's take a quick 10-minute break. You can just go off camera, put yourself on mute, and we will come back at 3:00. We'll come back at 3:00 and start session 3 and then move to our closing session for today. Thank you all. Okay, everyone, I hope you are there. It's almost time for us to come back together. If you have made it back and you don't mind, let us know that
Verna,
you're
you're
back.
on mute, I think. Or can't hear you.
Oh, I can hear you, Verna.
How about now?
can-
Can you hear me now?
We heard you the whole time, Verna.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was just welcoming everyone back, and I was going to say, if you're back and you can hear me, say I'm back in the chat or show some virtual sign. But it seems like you all were responding. So I think that everyone can hear, and most have returned to our virtual meeting space. I hope you have enjoyed the first half of our time together. And now I'm really excited for us to continue with a session on stewardship in action that will be hosted by Monica Toya. So Monica, I invite your voice to the space at this time.
Thank you, Berna. Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am happy to be here, and I'm glad to see all of you here. It's nice to see and hear, see familiar faces, hear familiar voices. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Like I said, I'm excited that you are here with us to talk about something that's the heart of the work that we do, stewardship in action. So if I have not yet had the opportunity to meet any of you, my name is Monica Toya, and I serve as a Senior Training and Technical Assistance Program Analyst with the Tribal TTA team at Lux Consulting Group. I am from the Pueblo of Jemez, also known in our traditional language as Walatoa, home of the Jemish people, located here in New Mexico. And before joining the Tribal TTA team, I spent more than 15 years as a program administrator overseeing CSBG LIHEAP, the start of LIWAP, amongst other local, state, and federal programs. So that experience shaped my perspective on the importance of stewardship, community priorities, and the balance between federal compliance and honoring tribal values. With that being said, when we think about effective grant administration, we often focus on the day-to-day tasks of management, but a truly impactful approach brings together contemporary administration and ancestral wisdom. Stewardship draws on deep-rooted traditions and a profound respect for the land, community, and future generations. So it's about honoring the enduring wisdom passed down through ancestral knowledge. At the same time, we utilize modern tools, transparent processes, and efficient practices to ensure responsible management and effective program delivery. This dual approach ensures we uphold accountability and trust while honoring our traditions. So let's look at the key differences between these two concepts. Management is focused on operational tasks and timelines. It prioritizes compliance with program rules, is driven by performance metrics, and focuses on current funding cycles. In contrast, stewardship is grounded in Indigenous values and a long-term community vision. It leads with integrity and is guided by traditional context. A steward ensures dual accountability to both the community and the funding agencies and invests in sustainability beyond the grant period. So there are here are six roles a steward, and the key components. So number one is values alignment. It's about harmonizing service provision with tribal values while ensuring we comply with program requirements. It's about intergenerational planning. We must develop programs with long-term sustainability and future generations in mind. We must incorporate Indigenous data practices. This means incorporating community appropriate methods for gathering, storing, and sharing the data. Relational accountability. So this is about maintaining a sense of responsibility to the community members, elders, and future generations. And then the thoughtful resource use. So we must ensure that funds and resources benefit the community with maximum impact and respect. Sovereignty protection. The steward's role is to safeguard tribal identity and self-determination throughout program implementation. So in the context of CSBG, stewardship is not just a concept, it's a necessity. Stewardship is important because first, it protects federal resources for community priorities. That means making sure funds are directed to the services our communities value most. Second, it builds community trust and credibility. When we are accountable, transparent, and consistent in our follow-through, we strengthen relationships and show our communities that their trust is well placed. Third, stewardship honors tribal sovereignty and traditions. It affirms each tribe's right to self-determination and allows to embed traditional knowledge into the work that we do every day. And finally, stewardship ensures long-term impact beyond compliance. It's not just about checking boxes, it's about creating programs that are sustainable and meaningful, programs that will benefit future generations. As effective program administrators, we understand that our accountability flows in multiple directions. So it flows to our funding agencies, to our leadership, and to our community members. A key part of this is leadership accountability. So first, let's talk about leadership buy-in. We need to understand why leadership support is absolutely essential for both our program success and the protection of sovereignty, because it ensures that programs align with the community's long-term vision and values. Tribal leaders are not just stakeholders. They are the governing body with a unique government-to-government relationship with the United States. Sovereignty protection. Tribal leader involvement is crucial for safeguarding tribal identity and self-determination in program implementation. Their support affirms the tribe's right to govern itself and make decisions that affect its people, lands, and cultures. It's a way of honoring traditions and embedding traditional knowledge and practices in the work. And program success and sustainability. So leadership buy-in is a key factor for program success because it can boost morale and drive motivation among staff. It also ensures that a well-crafted vision is more likely to succeed. So furthermore, support is critical for developing programs with long-term sustainability and future generations in mind, moving beyond just compliance and create lasting impact. Resource and accountability. With their knowledge of the current state of programs, leaders can ensure that federal funds are directed to services and initiatives that reflect what the community values most. It also ensures that program maintains a dual accountability to both the community and the funding agencies. Secondly, the approval process. So knowing how and when to seek formal approval from tribal leadership is a key part of the administrator's role. This process is not just a formality, it's a way of respecting the governance structures of the tribe. So by adhering to these protocols, administrators like yourselves demonstrate accountability and ensure that program decisions are aligned with the tribe's long-term vision. So this also helps in upholding transparency with tribal leadership. Finally, we have to consider the engagement solutions. Effective administrators must find respectful and strategic ways where leadership engagement is challenging. This could be due to various factors such as competing priorities, busy schedules, or differing communication styles. So the key to find solutions that maintain a strong relationship. The key is to find solutions that maintain a strong relationship with leadership while still moving the program forward. And this requires a proactive approach, which could sometimes mean utilizing existing functions such as community gatherings or traditional forums to reach said stakeholders. So building communication and trust is also critical. This involves three main practices. Obviously, you want to practice transparency, share program information openly while respecting confidentiality boundaries. So regular updates on successes and challenges build community confidence. Engage the stakeholders, utilize existing community gatherings, as mentioned just a while ago, including other programmatic events, social media, newsletters, and traditional forums to reach a diverse range of stakeholders. And then bridge generations. So you want to combine traditional knowledge systems with contemporary approaches to build trust across all generations served by tribal programs. Again, communication is key. So to truly embody stewardship, it's essential to put tradition and integrity into practice. And this involves 3 key actions. So ground in community values. We must embed traditional knowledge and community values in the program design, in the implementation and evaluation. So this ensures that the program is relevant and appropriate for the community it serves. Needs assessments are a good way to gather this valuable input. Honor traditional voices. So it's important to create space for elders' wisdom and the community's collective voice, grounded in lived experience, to guide the development and adaptation of programs. So together, this shared knowledge preserves ancestral wisdom and strengthens respect across the community. Balance requirements. Stewards find creative ways to meet external compliance needs while prioritizing community-defined success metrics. This approach moves beyond simply checking boxes and ensures the program is creating sustainable long-term impact. It upholds the program's accountability to both the funding agencies and the community itself. So this isn't just theory, it's being put into practice every day. So we see it, I'm going to give you 3 different case scenarios. I know I went through those first few slides pretty quick, and to be quite fair and honest, I was actually talking to Jamie about this, and I was telling her I feel like I'd be preaching to the choir, right? Because as tribal program admins, we know that we are accountable to various stakeholders within the community as opposed to just the funding agencies. And when I was thinking about this and in contemplating this presentation, I thought about the fact that, well, what differs? Because states are also accountable to their communities as well. I think the difference and the key factor here is that we live within these communities that we serve. We are amongst the people that need these services. They know where we live. Basically, they know where we live. We know where they live. We see the living conditions of our community members, and we see the needs. We live this experience daily. So this is not, for us, this is not just a job or somewhere we go. This is truly us trying to see how we can make a difference in the communities that we actually live in. The visual thing that Berna did earlier was amazing, because this is truly what we all want for our communities, right? We want to make sure that there's harmony in relationships. So this is where I want to spend most of the time, and just give you 3 examples before we get into a more interactive approach. So the first case, and where I'm going to give you, is a tribe aligning a budget with the changing community priorities and traditional practices, right? So let's say a tribe receives a federal grant for a wellness program focused on physical health. And then they, do a needs assessment, and through community feedback, they discover that a significant portion of the community's health challenges are tied to a disconnection from traditional practices and food sources. So instead of, say, spending the entire budget on a gym membership program, the tribal administration aligns the budget with traditional priorities. And what this could look like is reallocating a portion of the funds to support traditional food workshops, maybe a community garden and community-based exercise classes. So this approach still meets the grant's objective of promoting wellness, but does so in a way that respects and incorporates the tribe's values and traditions. So the administrator in their stewardship role ensures that the funds are directed towards services that community values most, right? Because then now we're also looking at, we're not just being reactive, we're being proactive and taking these matters into our own hands, because these are our people. So the next example that I want to share is transparent reporting to community councils. And I say community councils because some have tribal councils, overarching councils, some have senior advisory councils, some have youth councils. So this is all encompassing. This is all encompassing. Yes, Brenda, exactly. We have to listen to the heartbeat of our people. So in transparent reporting to community council, the tribal program administrator managing a grant for youth services provides regular updates to community council and elders. So they don't just share a financial report, right? They present the information in a clear and accessible way, highlighting program successes, challenges, and how the funds are being used to benefit the community. So in the same light that Jamie shared, we can utilize the tools that are available to us to share these in a way that the tribal members can understand, or these councils can understand. And not only that, at the end of the day, that our funding agencies can also understand. I always say that in our reporting, what I've seen in my experience in tribal reporting reviews or tribal report reviews, tribes, a lot of times we shortchange ourselves. We sometimes probably, because I understand that we're spread thin, and we probably sometimes think less is more. But in this case, we're not giving the full picture of what the tribe is actually doing and the services that are being provided to meet the goals of not just the community, but the overall CSBG goals that were discussed earlier. So the practice of open communication builds community trust and credibility, right? The community, when you have this open line of communication, the community trusts you and knows that you are hearing their voices, you are understanding what the needs are, and you're informing them, and they see it in the practice of service provision, what you're doing with the funds that have been entrusted to you. So it strengthens relationships by showing accountability and consistent follow through. So this transparency demonstrates respect for communities' governance structures and helps the program to build confidence within the community. And I know sometimes this is easier said than done within our tribal communities, but I think that in the long run, this transparency should be helpful. And then the third case scenario that I want to share with you is adjusting service delivery to sustain long-term impact. So a grant, the example I'm going to give you is a grant program is designed to provide job training services over a 3-year period. The initial plan focuses on job placement at the end of the training. However, the program administrator, acting as a steward, notices that many participants lack the skills needed to maintain employment after the grant ends, right? And by the grant, we mean to the service provided to the individual. Well, so to ensure long-term impact beyond compliance, the administrator adjusts the service delivery. So they propose a budget modification to the funder. So in this case, you would just change your plan if this was CSBG, and the tribal leadership to include a mentorship component and financial literacy workshops. So these changes, ensure the program is creating a sustainable benefit for the community. Again, moving beyond checking boxes to creating programs that benefit future generations and economic self-sustainability. So the administrator is using a thoughtful approach to resource use, ensuring funds and resources benefit the community with maximum impact. I've actually seen programs do this. And I understand it's mentioned earlier, I believe, that tribal programs are funded very minimally, or the funds aren't as much as we'd hope they would be. But this is where maximizing resources might look like partnering with other local social service programs. And then we also, it could mean that you notice a gap in service, and once you partner, it creates a service for the community members while still meeting the needs of the community and ensuring compliance with the CSBG priorities of creating economic self-sufficiency, which in turn obviously affects the overall community outcomes. So that was my third case study. We're going to go into an activity now. But before I do that, I see the chat popping off. Oh, it's also Roberta Turner's birthday. Happy birthday, Roberta. I hope that you have many more healthy, happy years. So I want you to think about the 3 examples that I've given and what I talked about in the first few slides, and think about your own role within your community, and think about what the 3 different things that you do as you act as both a steward and a manager. So what are 3 essential responsibilities that you have, or the traits that you exhibit in this role? And then once you think about that, feel free to share in the chat. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to think about the 3 things, and then I'm probably going to pull a Verna and call on people, and I'm also going to see what people say in the chat. So in your role as a program administrator, you act as both a steward and a manager. So identify and list 3 essential responsibilities that you have, or the traits that you exhibit in these roles. Yes, so Brenda says accountability, accuracy, and compassion, for sure, right? Because like I said, we are accountable not just to the funding agency, but to the people. They do often want to know, and this could look different for everyone, whether you're having a meeting where you're informing your stakeholders the funds that you received and how you're using the funds, or if you're having a community event and you let people know that the event is being hosted or funded by a particular program. And then obviously accuracy, and I will say that because we need to ensure that we are doing what we said we're going to do in the tribal plan as we act as stewards and managers, and ensuring that we are being responsive to the needs of the community, and obviously compassion. I think that in this line of work, that's a must. We also have good communicator, partner with others, accountable to the community. Yes. Definitely partner with others. Like I said earlier, maximizing resources is a good way. I can give you an example. In my previous role as a program administrator, we had 3 different programs provide a service to a group of low-income individuals, right? We had obviously YHEAP clients that we would conduct financial management or financial literacy courses for. And we did that in partnership with our local vocational rehabilitation program and their clients. So we just had one big event where one of the JVR, as we call them, staff members was trained in a particular financial literacy course, and we had her teach to everyone. So there's ways that you can achieve some of these things and you're giving back to the community, because like I said earlier, it's not just about managing a grant. You're helping the community. And then, yeah, I see communication and networking with other agencies. Encourage out-of-the-box thinking by staff can help achieve grant goals, expand grant reach, and make sure we are meeting community needs. Yes, I agree, Margaret. And then accountable, consistent, sustainable networking. I agree. And if any one of you wants to come on and elaborate on what you said, feel free to raise your hand. Like Jordan mentioned earlier, we're here to learn from each other. And I think that when we hear each other's voices and know that elaborating a little bit more on what we said, we can learn from each other and what that means to you exactly. Striving to achieve self-sufficiency. Yes, exactly, Brenda. Does anyone want to come online and give us a little bit more explanation to what they said in the chat, maybe, or talk to our peers and our colleagues to elaborate? Sure, Brenda, go ahead. Start us off.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that the community puts us in this role for a reason. You know, they do count on us. They trust us to be compassionate to their needs, the follow through, the communication, all these things that are being said in the chat are all true. We have a job to do, and you know, we all strive to achieve self-sufficiency within our community members, and some of them, you know, struggle more than others. But we also offer things like financial literacy programming, and stuff as far as gaining meaningful employment, not just getting a job. But we collaborate, and we have a great partnership with the workforce program that ironically I used to work for. So any of our members that were, you know, obviously we're servicing 18 and over for emergency needs, but if they're unemployed, we would assist them through the employment training program. And that's where we would offer the financial literacy training, communication skills, so on and so forth. But we're here to lift our community up, and our community sees that. They also recognize the need through the assessments that we're doing. So CSBG for Eastern Pequots has truly been a blessing. And I think we've been now administering this since about 2012. So we have many years under our belt. And, you know, it's really been a blessing to our community. So.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. And I know I keep saying the funding is minimal, but sometimes it's the difference between providing a particular service or not being able to as a tribal organization, right? I mean, it's needed. Don't mistake me saying that it's minimal, you know, with the fact that it's definitely a needed service. And so thank you for that. Margaret, you and I are on the same page, because I was going to call on you regardless. So go ahead.
I knew you were gonna. Hi.
Hi, Margaret.
How are you, Jamie? Oh,
Brenda,
who's saying hi?
Yeah, it's Brenda.
Brenda.
From the
Hi,
Wyola
Brenda.
program. I used to work with Daryl.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. What I was going to elaborate on is you need, if you have multiple staff, use them. I mean, we have a community baby shower that we work with the state and area tribes and other service organizations in the area. I forget whether we're on 5th annual this last year and we're going to 6th now. It just keeps growing. I think our attendance is 750 that registered, but most of those came with somebody else with them. Maybe it was the baby, maybe it was their spouse or mama, whoever, parent came with them. It gave us a tremendous outreach with that. We have a event that started out real small where we were doing food boxes for needed families in great need at the Thanksgiving and again at Christmas. That has grown from 25 boxes of food that covers every one of their meals for Thanksgiving, plus the remake of leftover meals. And that we do the same thing at Christmas. That's grown to 350 boxes each session this year. We also had an opportunity to partner with our tribe's clinic. They have a dietitian. She is doing a cooking demo. She does that for healthy heart and diabetes patients, as well as any employee of the tribe. We've joined with her and said, look, we want to encourage attendance, so we work with her on what she might be cooking this week, and we get little nominal items to encourage attendance. It might be a little cutting board, or it might be an item needed to make the recipe that she's teaching this week. Different ones of my staff have found it near and dear to their heart and have taken each of these activities. One of my staff is a member of the Native American Homeless Alliance here in this area, and she partners with other organizations on that. So everything we do, if you will, there's fingers and staff that are doing something, and they may not even realize how much they're helping us with community services outreach. There's my ideas.
Thank you for that. I mean, and the stories that you shared, you and Brenda, show that what I just said. And the reason why I said, you know, I literally question my preaching to the choir, because we all know that we're stewards, you know, of the funding that the tribe receives, right? And the difference that it's going to make. And it's not just about numbers for us. It's about truly making a difference in the communities that we serve, in the communities that we live in the families that we serve, because it causes a ripple effect, you know? And so does anyone else want to share or have anything to share or want to come on and share anything before we move on? Okay, so Amanda P says, I listen to the person's story to get an idea of what they need so that their basic needs can be met. We also use other departments within the tribe and other agencies in the community to assist with their needs. Most people do not know what services are available. Most people just need someone to listen and feel heard. Correct. And I was just thinking about a story, Amanda, when I heard Margaret and Brenda talking about an individual, and I'm not going to use names clearly, but that her words will always stick, right? Because she says, all I needed was a hand up, not a handout, right? And I've used that numerous times in any of the presentations that I've done, because a lot of times for a lot of our people, that's what it is. She was a young teen mother. She needed help of various services within the community that she was able to receive eventually because of individuals like you that work together and work with other programs and maximize your resources and look at the gaps of services that are needed and provide those said services, who is now a successful CEO of a company. She is now a CEO from a young teen mom who some people told she's not going to make it far, she's not going to do much. She went to school, got her bachelor's, got her master's, and now a CEO, and is giving back to her community in various ways. She's a part of the housing authority, the local housing authorities board in her area. She is, part of various other volunteer organizations to give back. So to know that these are the kinds of impacts that services and programs are making, and to know that this is the work that we do, and I hope you guys, and this, if anything, this is what I want you to take, in that. So it's more than managing, right? It's about protecting, nurturing, and growing what has been entrusted to you. These funds have been entrusted to you as a program administrator on behalf of your community to go out and do what you need to do to ensure that your community is taken care of. And like we said earlier, CSBG is not an end-all be-all, but by ecology, it can help a lot of individuals. I saw someone's hand raised. Do you want to go ahead and say something? I think it said Lauren.
That was an accident. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, so again, like I said, stewardship, it's more than managing. It's protecting, nurturing, and growing what has been entrusted to you. And with that being said, and if no one else has anything to say, I just want to thank you for your time. I know that we went a little bit fast and early. If you have any questions ever, feel free to reach out. I hope that what you got from this here, you know that it's applicable to any type of service or programming that you provide on behalf of your tribe, that you can, whether it's LIHEAP, CSBG, or any other OCS or federal, state, local program, that it remains, right? We are stewards. But again, if you have any questions, my contact information is here, my email address, and then the Tribal TA team's email address, and then we will be here tomorrow as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email or think about it, write it down, and bring it back to the sessions tomorrow. And with that said, I will turn it back over to Verna.
Thank you so much, Monica. And you all know that I'm going to ask you to please show some appreciation, some virtual appreciation to Monica for her presentation this afternoon. Thank you so very much. That was another great session for today. So let me just do this. Thank you again, everyone. A special thank you to our contractors at Lux for your contributions to the success of the day. I'm hoping that today helped you all do something that I saw Brenda place into the chat earlier, which was to learn to stop and listen to the drum, which is the heartbeat of the people we served. We learned about creating anti-poverty strategies using CSBG as a cornerstone. We talked about technology tools that support grants management, and we affirmed the importance of our roles as stewards of resources that flow through our communities. I'm going to give us a moment to do some reflections and to do some evaluations. But before I do, I just want to know if anybody has any key takeaways that you would like to share with the group before we start adjourning today. Does anybody have any key takeaways, anything that you heard that sparked your interest or gave you a little bit more courage and encouragement to continue forward, or anything that anyone has? And this can be our administrators, this can be from our TNTA providers, it can be from staff, but does anyone have key takeaways from today that you would like to unmute and share?
I do.
Hi, Manette. Yeah,
Hi.
Manette is going to be with us tomorrow providing training, but she's going to share some nuggets with us today.
So one of my favorite things about coming to the tribal annual meeting is when you all take yourselves off mute and you share things. And I'll never forget a couple of years ago, one of the tribal administrators talked about appliance repair and how that really helped someone keep their medication cold. And I heard some examples of community baby showers, and I heard about dietitians doing classes. And coming from the data side of the house, I just want to emphasize how incredibly important it is that you all share these stories. You may think you dropping something in the chat or sharing something in response to a prompt is just you participating in another meeting. But as somebody who's been on the other side and heard what you all do, those are things that I always carry with me in meetings and in spaces when we talk about the power of the tribal story. And if the person that talked about that refrigerator repair example is on this call today, I want you to know that you mentioned that probably unassumingly maybe 2.5 years ago. And I talk about that thing all the time whenever I get a chance to share that example. And to the tribal administrator that shared about the community baby shower and the dietitian that helps and some of the services, I'm probably going to tell that story a few more times as well. Because we don't always get to see the full picture in the annual report that you all submit, but getting a chance to connect with you, even in this virtual space, it's incredibly transformative. And it allows us to tell your story. But I think you all are more than capable and empower. We want to empower you to tell that story because no one can do it better than you. So that's my takeaway for today. And I'm really excited to connect with you all in a speaking role more tomorrow. Thank you, Verna.
Thank you, Manette. And thank you for the messages that you all are dropping in the chat as well. Is there anyone else who wants to share a key takeaway from today?
I'll share something. My name is Corinne Lee. I'm with the Navajo Nation, and I'm very brand new to this. I had Monica help me at one time, one-on-one. I had just several different people that I called and pulled in and helped me with my application, my reports, and everything. But, I mean, with this whole session today and tomorrow, for today, I learned a lot. I mean, the first time I heard it, it just kind of went across. The second time I heard it, maybe part of it stayed, the rest went again. Third time, I mean, I'm hearing it a lot more often, working with it more. A lot of this is sticking now, so I'm taking it all in as I'm learning. And and it's just funny how I see myself as going back to school or something, learning stuff all over again. And my mind isn't as sharp as it was back then, but after a couple times, yeah, I'm getting it. But thankful for everyone out there that I've reached out to for helping me, guiding me, submitting my reports, doing my grant application. I'm just thankful. But I'm here to learn, and I'm learning. Again, thank you for this session, and as well as tomorrow's. I'll be listening in too.
Well, thank
you.
you for sharing that. And please know that I have actually been, now listen, I'm going to share this transparently, but I need you all to not hear, but hear. I have been in some way, shape, form, or fashion around CSBG for about 30 years. But we're going to say I started when I was like 13, just so that we don't have any, body calculating my age. But every day that I show up, I
No
learn
judgment.
something different. So thank you. So you are not alone in the learning space at all. And the more we come together, the more we can learn from each other. So thank you for being here, and thank you for being willing to share that it's taken a few times for some things to stick. And I think all of us could share that same story. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else got anything you want to share? 13 months would be correct. 13 months. I was 13 months when I started. I want to make sure that we keep moving though and honor everyone's time. Jessica, are we able to pull up the evaluation poll questions for today? And I'll just make a few closing remarks. But we have about 3 questions that we want everyone, if you would please, this will help us so much as we prepare for tomorrow, as well as we prepare for next year's annual meeting. If you could answer for us, how much did your knowledge of CSBG increase today is our first question. It will be followed. You'll use the little arrow and scroll to the right. The second one says, what was the most valuable part of the meeting today? And I think you can choose as many of those as were important or impactful for you. And then the third question was, how satisfied overall were you with today's meeting? So I'm not sure if the second question is going to allow you to choose one. So choose whichever if of those that you can that really resonated with you today. But if you don't mind, please participate in those questions, because that helps us to get feedback and helps us to plan forward. So I see that you all are adding some responses. I would also remind you, if you want to give us a bit more detailed feedback, you can certainly email any one of us, but we do have the CSBG Tribes mailbox, csbgtribes at acf.hhs.gov, that you can send us additional feedback to. It will not allow me to view the poll. Jessica just dropped the tribal mailbox in, so if you want to send it to us that way, Brenda, I'm not sure why. Is anyone else having trouble seeing the poll?
There are certain folks who are unable to access some of the Teams apps, and so I think that's might be what's going on.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, Brenda and others, if you want to send us an email with your feedback in it for today, we just really want to make sure that we're hearing everyone's voices as we plan forward for tomorrow, as well as for next year. Your feedback is really important to us. The only other thing that I would do, as you all are providing feedback, is I want to actually give you some homework and ask you to make sure that you can access your annual report data. It's not mandatory, but of course, I think it will help our conversations tomorrow if you are able to access your annual report data and have that as a part of your preparation for day 2 of the annual meeting. I think we are done today. So I'll once again thank you all for your dedication, your vision, and your heart. I think we have celebrated your tireless efforts to building pathways out of poverty and making those into possibility. I want you all to stay grounded today, tomorrow, and as you carry on, to make sure that your values, your bold strategies, and all the things that you do that unite tribal communities stay very strong and intact. My closing thought would be, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can actually change the world. So thank you all very much for your time today. And we look forward to seeing you at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye, everyone.